All
Hi,
right.
Adina.
Oh,
What would be most helpful today?
everything.
Awesome.
I think right now the very first thing that's top of mind is like marketing strategies
Hmm.
and figuring out which ones feel best for me. Like I went through the marketing fundamentals courses and all of that. I watched everything. Um, but I'm worried that I only have three
Okay.
strategies right now. I almost call it two and a half because like Psych Today, which is one of my like using a directory is like hit
Yeah.
or miss, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm worried I don't really have enough. So I have my website, really happy with where it's at right now.
Hmm.
Um, I've been doing networking, really throwing myself into that. For reference, I started my part-time practice in April and then I went full-time mid-July. So I'm really like
Amazing.
pretty new in this.
Yeah. And you were able to go full time, which is beautiful.
Yeah, I just decided to go for it and being in this is like really motivating also. So
Good.
yeah,
Yay.
so new to all of this, but really throwing myself into everything and trying to learn. So yeah, I got my website down really recently, doing the marketing stuff with like when it comes to networking, just getting myself out there as much as I feel comfortable, plus a little
Hmm.
bit extra.
Uh-huh.
And then I have my Psych Today profile, which again, like I said, is really kind of hit or miss. Like haven't been getting much there. I'm pretty happy with my profile, but I'm in New York. We have like millions of therapists, it
Right.
seems. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
and I really am not comfortable with like doing public speaking
Hmm.
and when I say not comfortable, I mean more than the average,
Yeah.
not
We,
comfortable. Like
we can just take it right off the list then. Yeah.
yeah,
No
so
pressure there.
that
Yeah.
good, good. And don't love social media. Like, yes, I
Hmm.
scroll on social media, but I
Right.
do not even post on my own page, like
Hmm.
my personal page, like not into it, not excited by it, don't
Yeah.
really care about people seeing my life or whatever.
Hmm.
So I think I'm worried like three-ish strategies just isn't enough. I mean, I'm thinking I could add more directories. Like
That would
maybe
still
not
count
as
as
them, but like,
one, because
yeah,
like even if you're on five directories, it's still like online listings is still one heading. I
yes.
mean, you've got the two most important down. The thing is like, how do people find your website if not through networking? So like that, if for those two, it requires that your ideal client gets in touch with somebody who knows you in order for them to find you, which can be done. Like I basically built my practice in Seattle that way. But that was also like in 2011. So there were fewer therapists doing private practice. There are new and different ways that work. So I think it sounds like you're very motivated. So it's about finding the thing that like, first we'll start with like you don't hate, and then we'll see if we can like hack away into actually liking it.
Okay,
Um, are
sure.
you in the city?
I'm in Long Island, so
Okay.
outside the city.
And are you doing in person or virtual?
I'm doing virtual.
Okay, great. So you've got all of New York, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yes. So much to
Something I was just talking with somebody yesterday about like when people are doing their online listings, they're always like, well, what's the really rich area for me? Right. Like for her, she's in California. So it's like Palo Alto, it's Monterey, it's all these like really fancy places. Right. And so for you, you certainly know, Manhattan, Brooklyn. But even for premium pay, if you can find a place that has fewer therapists listed where the median household income is at least 70 grand,
Okay.
then you'll probably be fine. And they're kind of underserved on the Psychology Today or online listing world because they don't have as many people vying for attention there. So as long as your niche is like spoken about in those first couple sentences, then those people will find you.
Okay.
So that's something to consider instead of going for what looks like the low hanging fruit, but is the same low hanging fruit everybody else is looking for.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah, I considered, I think I put the zip code for a couple of the like kind of higher income areas near me in Long Island, but I might have put one zip code in the city. But yeah, I have a couple of specific neighborhoods in mind, so I'll take a look at how many therapists are listed in those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Psych Today is a little confusing also just because there's like, you know, when you do a search with, or when I do a search with a specific zip code, very few therapists end up coming up, even people in the area. And then it just sort of is like, hey, click online, like look for an online therapist. And then you get zillions of people.
Oh.
Trying to figure out that, but
Mhm.
that's something I'll look into a little bit more.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a little bit
interesting.
confusing to like figure out what zip code to even put in just because of how the results are showing up.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So optimizing what you're doing, like you like your website. How is networking going? It sounds like you're going for it. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I've had like 5 networking meetings in the last couple of weeks.
Nice.
They've like pretty much all gone really well. I've left feeling really excited, and I have 5 more scheduled in the next couple of weeks. So
Love it. I love that. And so it's finding like, since everybody seemed like a good fit, like you weren't kind of like, when is
yeah,
this over?
yeah,
Then making sure you're following up with them at kind of a regular pace, whether it's sending them a meme or a paper or just a, hey, how are you? Because
okay,
I think about them like, our referral partners are like basically like people that we marry. If we're like polyamorous and able to marry multiple people, I guess polygamous too. So we want to have these long-term relationships with them, not just the one night stand. And
yeah,
so it's being more communicative with them. Like if you enjoyed them, like enjoy them, let them become friends, basically. Work to make them friends if they're people that you genuinely enjoy and you're like, oh, I could definitely send clients their way too. Because we think about networking as kind of transactional when we just think about the word networking, but it really is, it's relationships, which we're great at. So yeah.
that's a fair point. Yeah, it's a helpful reminder because yeah, I am looking at this not just as transactional, but like, oh, I'm really enjoying talking to these people and it's exciting. What I struggle with is staying in touch with people just because I get so focused on whatever's happening in my life. And so even in my
Yeah.
personal life, I forget, oh, I haven't talked to this friend for 3 months. Oh my gosh. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think a lot of it is then the mindset of like, this is business and friendship sort of mixed together.
Mhm.
And I need to use that as some motivation to follow up with people. But I
Yeah.
guess like don't want to be pushy and like check in with them too often, or ask to like meet up too often or whatever. So that's something maybe I sort of have to think about a little bit more. I don't know if you have any recommendations there of like what that like kind of natural cadence might be.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I would put it in your calendar for at least a month, like follow
Okay.
up in a month, see how it feels, or if you come across a meme or a paper or whatever, just shoot it their way when you see it. Because especially if it's a timely meme, you don't want to be like, I saw this a month ago and thought of you, you
Right.
know. And that counts. And then you can bump, like if you do that after seeing them like 2 weeks later, you send them a meme or whatever, you can bump your calendar where it's another month before you do it instead of 2 weeks.
Gosh.
So it doesn't have to be these big, heavy, like, let's get coffee again. It can be, but yeah, it is helpful to kind of stay top of mind, especially for people who are full. Have
Yeah.
you been networking with anybody who's full yet?
Nobody who's like full to the brink.
Uh-huh.
Nobody who said like, oh my gosh, I have an overflow of clients.
Mhm.
I don't really know how to find those.
Yeah, yeah, they're often the people who've been around a long time is kind of like a first hint. It
Okay.
doesn't, I mean, there are people who've had a practice for 5 years that's never gotten full, but like if you think their presence is good online, they say something about like having been in private practice for a million years, or maybe they were like your friend's therapist back a few years ago and you recognize the name, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Um, Going to networking events, probably like if public speaking isn't your thing, is networking events like a horror show for you?
I haven't been to one. I could see it going either way. I could see
Mhm.
it being not my thing, and I could see it being manageable. I don't love group things as it is.
Mhm.
Got
Mm, that's
anxiety
gotcha.
around that, but
Yeah.
I could if I went with a friend, maybe I'd feel a little bit more comfortable. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you don't have to force it though.
it's
Do
a
it, we
maybe
don't.
down the line if the perfect networking event shows up.
Right, right. And what is your niche?
So, you actually helped me kind of narrow down how to say this more simply at the most recent group call, uh,
Uh-huh.
which is anxious, burned out people pleasers.
Yes,
So,
first, perfect. Okay.
yeah, that's it.
So yeah, that's right. Because we talked about how like other people are gonna like if they have space in their practice, they're going to take these clients on too, because they
Yes,
know what to do with them.
100%.
Um, so here's what I'm thinking in terms of too many thoughts at once. They're fast today. Sometimes some days my thoughts are really fast. And
Oh
I'm
my,
like, hold on, wait, let me catch you.
let me catch up. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't think that I can't think of any group networking that is like so specially positioned for your niche.
sure. Yeah.
So I would just skip it since it's not something you're on fire about anyway.
Oh,
Um, I would consider SEO as a strategy, which
yeah.
is going to require blogging.
Yeah.
So we can talk about some shortcuts to blogging though, that might make it less tedious if it feels tedious. I don't know. What does blogging feel like for you when I say that?
It's one of those like on the fence things. So I did have it on my list as like I'll consider this, but like as I was watching the "Is it for me" video in the party, I was thinking like, okay, no, I'm not excited about doing this every week. It does feel like this tedious thing, like this thing that is just going to weigh on me because I can't just like bang something out in an hour.
Mhm.
Like I will dwell on it longer. It
Okay.
takes me a little bit longer to like get my thoughts out the way I need them to get out.
Okay. I want to see if we can hack this just as an option.
Yes, love that.
If you were to, on Monday, let's say, pick a topic or a like some sort of subject that you're going to write a blog about at the end of the week. And that way you can think about it. You can do little like notes for yourself in your notes app. But if you're thinking about like the impact of, we're coming up on the holidays, right? So you could do like the impact of people pleasing on your Thanksgiving holiday, right? But you would call it something clever. You would call it something like so happy to go to your parents' house twice in the next 2 months, like something like that. Or
That's
why you're not so happy to go. But so
yeah.
um and then you're thinking about it throughout the week. Your clients are bringing up things related to it throughout the week. Um, and then on Thursday or Friday or whatever, you have like a writing block in there.
Yeah.
And you look at your notes, and if you work better just like blather on into like a Google Doc with voice recognition and then edit it from there. If you do better writing, then write. So just like play with what works best. But if you kind of have planned mulling it over time over the course of a week, then you will probably have far more to say. And then once you've edited it, you can take what you've got, you can go to ChatGPT and you can say, I'm a therapist writing a blog about how difficult it is to be a people pleaser around the holidays. Please make this blog 800 words, matching the style and tone.
Mm,
And so, because you'll probably end up, most of us have a peter out period. Like mine's never 800 words.
yeah.
It's always like 500 words. It's always just shy of it. And ChatGPT can add some things in there that are valuable. It's not just like filler stuff, but it's valuable. They sometimes get your tone wrong. Even when you ask them to get it right, you just edit. Like we never want to just like put something in ChatGPT and be like, all right, copy paste,
Oh no.
because it's always going to suck.
Yeah.
The better your prompt, the less sucky it'll be. Um, but yeah, so I would try that, like just maybe write a couple. And if you're like, I hate this, then never mind. We don't need to do that. And what platform is your website built on?
At Squarespace.
Okay, perfect. So that's great for SEO if you wanted to go the SEO route. SEO is harder in New York, right, than a lot of places.
Mhm.
So if you were interested in SEO, I would recommend hiring it out. And I, I think I hope I talk about it in there. Like the person who does the SEOing of the blog and the blogging or the SEO section is Jessica from Simplified SEO Consulting. They're the people I trust most. They're the people I see get results for my students. They've gotten results for me. I've been ripped off by 3 other SEO companies. So I like them. I trust them. So if you decide to go that route, I'd recommend them.
Yeah.
Um,
And I love the idea for like the blogging stuff, like thinking about it throughout the week. That feels so much more like how my brain actually works versus
Yeah,
I'm going to sit down and try to write. So yeah, love this. Also,
yeah.
I've heard that some companies who do SEO for therapists will not do it in New York at this point.
Oh
I
no.
think in Long Island, though, like some of those companies are like, we won't do it for the city, but Long Island will like kind of it'll be like on a case by case basis. So maybe I'll look into that. It's just very
Yeah,
busy, and I'm not
yeah.
at the point in my practice where that feels reasonable for me.
Mhm. I
Uh,
get that.
is that something that like would feel okay, maybe to wait on a little bit, or is it like, oh, well, maybe like do this investment so that I can build my practice better?
I mean, if it doesn't feel comfortable and it's going to extend you in a way that makes you anxious, then I wouldn't do it. Because
Yeah.
I see therapists early on get desperate because nothing ever moves as fast as you want it to, right? Like that's all of us. And I don't want you to end up spending money, even though it will yield a result. I don't want it to like, I don't want you to be stressed in the meantime when there are other cheaper or free things you could be doing.
Yeah.
So it might mean you get started on blogs and you do the SEO tutorial that they taught on how to do the blogs, and you just do that on your own.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and see how it works. I don't know. Maybe you get the same results. Who knows?
Yeah. Worth playing around with. I appreciate that idea. Just to give myself options, basically. I'll take a look
Yeah,
at it and figure it out from there.
yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking about, let's see, you've got, I'm thinking through like all the marketing fundamentals little modules. What were the other ones that are on your maybe list?
Yeah, so it was the only maybes, like everything else was immediate no. If I'm
Mhm.
being honest. There were SEO, blogging, and videos. Video, terrifying, but like I was more open to it than some of the other ones. So
Okay.
put it on the maybes begrudgingly.
Yeah, yeah. And so doing what it talks about in that video where you take a video of yourself every day and you make yourself watch it and you're going to pick yourself apart, you're going to be mean to yourself for like a short period of time, and it's important. Like we're in therapy, we know it's important to keep doing it even though there's this period where it makes you feel really uncomfortable about yourself, because you don't want to stop in the middle of the discomfort and just be stuck with it, because you will essentially like exposure therapy your way out of that and just be like, all right, so my face is like this, no big deal, my voice is like this, no big deal. And that just makes it's actually good for some self-acceptance, bigger picture too, to be like, I never noticed this thing I hate about myself now. And now I don't care that much. It's fine. I can accept it.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, and with all content, it's always about just making sure you're writing about what your ideal client actually cares about. Because that's where they see other people posting things like 5 ways to reduce anxiety. And like, yeah, your clients want to reduce anxiety, but that just sounds like something you'd see on HuffPost or something, like it's not specific enough.
Mhm. Yeah, that's helpful. I have trouble, I guess, synthesizing what those like common topics are. Like I know when I'm speaking to a client, oh my gosh, 4 clients have talked about this in the last week or two.
Mhm.
But outside of a session, I'm like, what are the common themes? I have no idea. So I think maybe finding a way to maybe right after a session, if there was something that popped up in my mind, just writing it down like, oh, that was an interesting thing
Mhm.
talk about, or it's sort of a theme in some of my clients. I think maybe like getting a little bit more focused in the moment instead of trying to look back later on without
Yeah.
some intention will probably be the key here.
Yeah. And that could be like just a little notepad you have right by your therapy chair. It could be your notes app. But I'm not somebody who can generate the idea and then write the thing at the same time. I have to have a list to choose from to see like what do I feel like? Because forcing myself to write or to do a video, like
Oh,
it doesn't work.
thank you there.
Yeah. So keeping that like kind of exhaustive list of things that you continue to add to just as sessions happen, as you see things in the media, as people in your life say things that you're like, are you kidding me? The world is full of reminders of what your clients need.
Sure.
So it's just like writing it down in one easy to find place.
Yeah. That's a great point. Okay, so I'm gonna have to push myself to do some of these things I don't really want to do, but like we'll maybe get used to, or we'll maybe sort of figure out along the way, and maybe it's harder in my head than it actually is. Like I'm doing a lot of stuff here that a year ago I would have been like, absolutely no, there's no way I'm doing that. And it's feeling fine. So, it's just one of those things. Also, we teach our clients in therapy, like, sometimes it's worse, often it's worse in our heads. So
Yes.
maybe I start with seeing how it feels to write a couple of blogs and starting to do the video thing, which I can see myself putting off. I will put it on my calendar to make it happen.
Can we
Uh,
check in on the next group call about it? Will you raise your hand and let me know you did it?
I cannot promise,
Okay.
but I'm gonna try, because got a little bit of social anxiety, not gonna lie. So even speaking up in a meeting, that's me challenging myself. The last time speaking up in
Yeah.
that call, I was like, I'm doing this. I'm scared and I'm doing this. So
Huh.
it'll be me doubly challenging myself, but I'm gonna put it on my list as a goal.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And I have to say, I hear this from people a lot about like the group calls of like, I'm not somebody who speaks up in these things.
Yeah.
It's really scary for me. I can never tell. I would never have known that you were anxious when you spoke.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
good masking, I guess.
Great acting. No,
Yeah.
I am so much, I've practiced so much speaking up. I'm part of like a big like consultation group, like network, and I've practiced so much speaking
Mhm.
up. And me 5 years ago, my face would have been red, I would have been shaking. And so yeah, this is me like practicing
Mhm.
being less anxious, but still anxious. So it's good feedback. I appreciate
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate the acknowledgement there. Yeah, and the accountability as well.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll throw some accountability at you more than you want.
I appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, with the marketing strategies, then if I want to challenge myself to do more than just the three. If I stayed at the three, though, like worst case scenario, I hated everything I tried, or it just like was not working. Is that still like, does that feel like enough to build a practice, or
You'd need to go harder on networking. Join a board or two and do something that has you frequently in front of the same people. And it would need to be a board that's like related to your ideal clients. So like it's easier for me because mine was so diagnostic, my niche. So like I was on an eating disorder treatment board or eating disorder education board. So finding a board that has your people on it and they're friends with a lot of your people and they work with a lot of your people in different contexts.
yeah,
But I would have to ramp it up to get where you wanted to be quickly. I mean, like anything will work over time if you're consistent at a slower pace for sure. But I want I want you to fill up at whatever pace you want to do. So just knowing like the harder you go with it, the faster you'll get results.
yeah, absolutely. I think my niche feels a little bit tough when it comes to like finding ways to connect, I guess. Like being on a board somewhere, it's like mine feels so much more general than yours.
Yeah. I think though the beauty of yours is that it's people in all areas of life.
Yeah,
Like it's one of those niches that sounds really specific, but it's like most women, like it's so it doesn't have to be like a clinical board. It could be I don't know if you have kids, but like I think about like my daughter's about to go to an all girls middle school. Like being on the board there could be really good for stressed out people pleasing like
sure.
women because it's probably full of a lot of those moms, that school. Um, yeah, I think there's probably a lot, and especially being in such a big area, like Long Island has so much going on. You're not in like a little small town somewhere. So I would actually, okay, here's what I do. I would follow just your natural human interest. And I would make a list of like 10 different nonprofits or different kinds of things that have boards. And I mean, it could be the animal shelter, it could be anything. Just like make a list and then evaluate like, does my ideal client hang out here? Do they know other people on the board? Are they on the board themselves? Like clearly you wouldn't do therapy with them, but they have friends, like attracts like. So just kind of think through with each of those, which is going to be the most likely to yield referrals ultimately.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna give that some thought. And then ultimately being on a board also sounds not like something I would normally go for, but something I would be open to considering. So maybe I'll include that on my list of maybes
Yeah. Yeah.
once I identify what some of those places are. When you said animal shelter, I'm like, I don't know if my ideal client is hanging out there. I mean, they probably are. My clients love animals, but I don't know. I'm like, yes, I would love that. Love animals. I want to spend all the time with animals and animal lovers and all that. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I guarantee there's some people pleasers on that board or in that staff and they all have friends. So it's being really, you don't need to be a billboard for your business because like who you are and how you show up is enough of a billboard, but you do have to let people know what you do. So when people are like, so what do you do? Don't say, oh, I'm a therapist and leave it there. Just say like, I work with, you say it so quickly. What did you say again? It was so good.
anxious, burned out people pleasers.
There we go. I work with anxious, burned out people pleasers in therapy. Know any? Like, because it's like, it's at least, it's most of the state probably, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's fair.
well,
Yeah, a lot of us here for sure.
yeah, yeah. I feel like most people are just like, like anxious, vibrating a little higher than they want to be. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Yeah, there's a lot to think through here. And this
Yeah.
is recorded, right? Like I can go back
Mhm.
and okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because my mind is like running right now.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right.
And you're in this position where you're wanting to do this thing you've not done before. It is entirely reachable. Like your goal is, it's going to happen, but you are going to have to continue to be uncomfortable to get there. And it's either going to be the discomfort of, I'm not getting the number of clients that I want, or it's going to be the discomfort of, I am doing these harder things that are putting me in positions I've not been in before, or positions I've been in before and haven't loved. And I can hopefully figure out a way to enjoy it or at least not hate it to get to my ultimate goal. So it's kind of like choose your discomfort.
I needed to hear that. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Logically, that is swimming around in my brain somewhere.
Mhm.
But I needed that to be said directly. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whew, what a kick.
Yeah. And you're not alone in that. I mean, so many therapists that we work with, there's like the list of things they don't want to do is much longer than the list of things they do want to do. And they also really want their practice to work. And so there's a finding the things that were initially, maybe even some things on the no list, who knows? Not public speaking if that's like turns your stomach, but um finding a way to make those other things work.
Yeah. Yeah, down the line, like I'm trying to keep myself open to things that I wouldn't have been.
Mhm.
So down the line, I'll probably be even more open to things
Yeah.
that I'm not now, because I'm already pushing myself and further than I thought I would be.
Yeah. And you're not hating it, right? Like the networking is going great.
Yeah, that's fair. And maybe, who knows, maybe I'll love blogging.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe I'll hate it, maybe I'll love it, maybe it'll be neutral. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I love it. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Adina. I will see you in a couple weeks in the group call.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a great week
You
and
too. Bye.